Hi, I'm Seb Proisy, and while I'm usually here to talk to you about tennis equipment, in this series of episodes we're actually taking you back in time to look at and discuss some of the most iconic rackets that have marked their time. Today we'll be discussing the infamous double-strung spaghetti racket. No kidding, that's actually its real name, or at least that's how people referred to it back when it started to be used on the tour in 1977. Let's first make one thing clear. This is not a specific racket, but really a way of stringing. So here I've got a Fischer racket strung with the double-strung spaghetti method. This way of stringing was invented in 1971 by a German horticulturalist by the name of Werner Fischer. It was known to impart tremendous amounts of spin on the ball. So much so that in October of 1977, the ITF was forced to permanently ban this way of stringing and introduce explicit rules laying out exactly how do we string your racket with the weaving pattern we know today. The spaghetti string method reached the height of its notoriety in the fall of 1977, when just 2 weeks after the US Open, Ilie Nastase from Romania lost in Paris to French player Georges Gauvin and his double-strung racket. Nastase was supposedly so upset to lose to Gauvin that he swore to never play against a player who used that racket again. The following week in Aix-en-Provence, Nastase showed up with his own double-strung racket and won the tournament, beating Guillermo Vilas in the finals and ending his streak of 55 straight wins. Vilas actually retired in this match, claiming the amount of spin was just too much and was causing his elbow to feel pain. Also, it was actually because Vilas threatened that if this way of stringing wasn't banned, he would start playing with it too. And side note, Vilas went on to win 28 more matches in a row after losing this final. So how exactly did the spaghetti way of stringing affect spin potential so much? Well, the simple answer is that it allowed all the mains to move more freely. If we look at it in details, we can see there are actually two sets of mains, one for each side of the racket. This is one feature that makes this style of string nearly impossible for today's rackets because most grommet holes for the mains are too small to allow two strings to fit in. On top of that, there are only 5 cross strings, and instead of being weaved with the mains, they simply pass through each pair of mains. This reduced number of crosses is precisely what allows the mains to move so much between the moment the ball impacts the strings and the moment the ball leaves the strings. And to make things even worse for the opponent, all the mains are tied together right below the 5 cross strings to allow them to all move together, enhancing the spin potential even further. And finally, we've got these thin plastic tubes that are placed on the mains at each intersection with the crosses. Their purpose is to reduce friction between the strings to make them last longer, something that can still be done today with string savers, which are also known as stringalings. It's also worth noting that all these benefits came at the cost of a much longer stringing session, sometimes 2 hours longer than a regular stringing job. Some people in the tennis world argue that the introduction of polyester strings in the early 2000s brought about as much change to the game as the double string racket. But in my opinion, that's clearly an exaggeration. If you want to experience firsthand the closest thing to that infamous spaghetti racket, try stringing your racket without weaving the crosses by having them all on top of the mains on one side and behind the mains on the other side. This will allow your mains to move a lot more on impact and therefore impart more spin as the ball leaves the string bed. That's assuming you hit every ball with the same side of the racket, of course. I hope you enjoyed this episode, and if you did, you can like and share, and I'll see you next time with some more legendary rackets.